Hello, welcome back to LARK UK. Today we're going to do the budget running shoe kind of roundup review. I'm going to just go through my final thoughts on the three budget shoes I was using this year: the Adidas Duramo 10, the New Balance 680 V7, and the Asics Jolt 3. I've been using all three all through the 2023 as part of my training. I'm going to do a quick roundup today, tell you how it's gone. So today's just going to be a quick roundup. I've used all these three shoes as part of this budget running shoe experiment. I bought them all at the end of 2022 in the aim of using them all throughout this year as part of my training. See how I got on with them. Were they good? Were they bad? What are the drawbacks? What are the benefits? Like I said, I've got a playlist. Feel free to go back through the playlist and see my initial runs in each of the three shoes, my 100-mile review, my 250-mile review. That's going to go into far more detail. Today I'm just going to do a quick kind of roundup in terms of my overall thoughts of how the three shoes have performed. Would I recommend a budget running shoe to other runners? What were the good bits about each shoe? What were the bad bits? Will I buy these shoes again, etc.? Or would I buy these shoes again? So let's dive straight in. Okay, so firstly, would I say the budget running shoe experiment was a success? I would argue yes. I've used all three all year round. I've had no real injuries caused by the shoes in terms of the budget nature. That was one of my concerns. Would they not help an injury form but wouldn't prevent it in terms of there's less support, less padding, less comfort, there's less give in terms of the technology in the shoes. There's no plates, there's no kind of elite foams, there's no high tech in there at all. It's the very obviously budget shoes. I got all three for less than £120. So that was one of my major concerns. I've run all year. I've run more miles this year than I've ever done. See, I'm filming this early November, so what, just over 10, 11 months into the year. So I've used them all year round. I've done 2,100 kilometres, which I think is just under 1,400 miles in them. These as my main shoes I've been using. There was a few, I've integrated some of my older shoes as well, a little bit into the rotation, just for the mileage and what I was using them for, but generally these have took up the bulk of the miles. I'll put the details on the screen now in terms of each of the miles they've covered so far, but they've all basically done over 500 kilometres, and I'll probably get them to at least 650, hopefully before the end of the year. So obviously that'll be well over 400 miles in each of the shoes. So I can't ask for much more than that, especially when I paid less than, let's say, £40 per shoe. But yeah, so overall I think it has been a success. They've done everything I've asked them to do. I'll go into a bit more detail now into each individual shoe in terms of the pros and cons and how I've used them and how I've enjoyed them. So we'll start with the shoe I've found the best, the one I've most preferred to run in, and this was the Adidas Duramo 10. Pretty much from the initial run, it was the one I really enjoyed. It's just it's hard to kind of put kind of a reason as to why. There's nothing about the shoe which should be great. The foam is firmish, it's got a bit of give but not much, it's just a firmish foam. The upper's made out of recycled materials and kind of sometimes kind of water's drawn to it and doesn't basically soak any water in because it's plasticky based. Obviously Adidas is pushed to kind of end plastic waste, but when it's wet it goes straight through the upper. It doesn't kind of sit in the upper, which then your socks get drenched. It's just the geometry of the shoe, I think. Nothing again looking at it would shout out that it's a great running shoe, but it's just dead easy to run in. I've enjoyed running it in it pretty much every run I've ever done in it. Most of my runs have been steezy, easy kind of recovery runs. I've done a few steady-ish paced runs in it, but I've done long runs, I've done shorter runs, and it's just took everything in its stride. It's just been really enjoyable to run in. You can forget about them on your feet. I was actually shocked when I did the weigh-in, I think earlier in the budget shoe series, that these were actually the heaviest of all the three shoes. They don't feel like that on foot. I've had a lot of comments in through all the review videos, and I would highly recommend those. I would love to grab. I probably will be grabbing some more of those in the future. I've just literally bought my 2024 shoe restock. I'll do another video on that down the line in terms of what I've bought and why. But yeah, I'd love to buy more of these in the future. I would highly recommend this shoe. The only major drawback now, I've only just started seeing it in the last couple of weeks. I'll do some close-ups, but yeah, the upper has failed now. The outsole was pretty good. It's got a bit of wear now towards the heel, which is a new area for me to wear shoes down in. But yeah, there's some rips and tears now starting to appear in the upper of both shoes. which is the first time I've ever had that in a running shoe, and I'm assuming again it's because of the recycled material, the more plasticky nature. It's maybe a bit more brittle than a fabric-based upper, especially with the hot and cold, and now it's getting cold and wet in the winter. Maybe it's just kind of given up. But that's the only drawback I found in the Adidas. It's maybe my favourite shoe of the three. I think it's done the most mileage of the three, and it'd be one I would probably grab every first out of the three shoes. It'd be the one I grab the first every time. Okay, next up is the New Balance 680 Fresh Foam V7. So this was the kind of the safety net. It was the £50 shoe. I paid £50 for this one. So it was more expensive than the other two. It was the one I was thinking I need this in the back of my mind because I knew I was going into 2 half marathon training blocks and running 2 half marathon races. My previous shoes, the Hulk and the Reebok, were getting towards the end of their lifespan, so I needed something as a solid safety net in terms of long run shoe, half marathon shoe. So I grabbed this New Balance. I was initially a little bit disappointed. I thought, again, comparing it back to the Reebok Float Ride, which is a bit softer and a bit more poppier and far more enjoyable to run in, this was a bit of a disappointment. The dual density is really comfortable, but there was not much kind of feedback. There wasn't very much responsiveness. So I was initially a little bit disappointed. However, as the year's gone on, and I've tended to use this more for my longer runs with the dual density and the more comfort, I've grabbed this for anything over, say, a 10k. I've tended to grab the New Balance. It's been what I found it's best suited for. And I actually ran the Chester Half Marathon in this shoe. And again, actually set my half marathon PB for this year in this shoe. So yeah, as the year's gone on, I've enjoyed it more and more. The comfort is probably its biggest positive. It's really comfortable. You can feel like you can run in all day in this. You get no issues with hot spots. You get no kind of leg fatigue. It's just really comfortable. Your foot is just in there, and you just kind of, it's basically a mile muncher. You just roll through your miles and miles, and the dual density, the nice softness at the top, and then a bit more firmness to keep your foot from kind of bottoming out. So yeah, the shoe has improved in terms of my opinion of it. Would I recommend it? I would. I'm definitely going to get more New Balances in the future. But yeah, that's a shoe that took a while for me to warm to, and then once I put it into its kind of preference to the longer runs where you can just do a steady paced long run, it's really comfortable. You can just go all day in it, and it's just basically, like I say, the comfort is where it kind of peaks. Basically, the comfort is the defining factor of the shoe, and it's the biggest positive it has. And again, it has grown on me, and it's probably now my second of the 3 favourite shoes of the budget running shoe experiment. Okay, last but not least is the Asics Jolt 3. So the cheapest of the 3. This was, I think I bought this for £33. I got the Duramo 10 for 34, and I got obviously the New Balance for 50. So the Jolt 3 was probably the biggest disappointment of all 3 in terms of the initial run. It was the one I liked the least. It felt very clumpy, very firm. The gait cycle wasn't very smooth. The only positive about it was the grip on the outsole and the breathability of the upper. But again, similar to the New Balance, once I started playing to its strengths and I started using it for what it was kind of best for, and again with the firmness, I decided that was probably for the shorter, faster stuff. It's not particularly comfortable, definitely not as comfortable as either of the other 2. So long runs and kind of recovery runs and just basically easy recovery day runs, or anything over, say, a 5 or up to 10k maximum, wasn't what I enjoyed running in it for. So I pivoted and started using it for shorter, faster stuff, interval work, any speed work. The firmness of the foam lent itself to that it's no longer comfortable because it's too firm, but it helps you to generate that leg turnover. You don't need the comfort, you need the lack of squish for you to get your legs turned over quickly. And once I did that, it became far more enjoyable to run in. And again, that did grow me a little bit. I think I've actually run a sub 25k in this shoe. So no, I didn't get a sub 20. I actually ran a 20.06 in this shoe. I've ran all my sub 20s in my Hokers, which again are a better shoe, far more responsive, better gait cycle. Even though at the end of their life, they're still a better speed shoe. And again, I bought this in a size too big. The Asics, I bought them probably a half size too big. The Asics and Reebok are the only 2 kind of brands where I tend to have to come down a half size. Every other brand fits true to size generally. So if I got it half size small, would it have made a difference? Probably. But again, I've covered all this in my reviews for the 3 shoes individually. But yeah, that's the kind of overview of all 3. They've all served a purpose. Once I started using them for what they're best for, they got even better. So just to kind of summarise now, rather than bang on for too long, would I recommend budget running shoes to other runners? And the answer is absolutely I would. They do serve a purpose. They can be used for like basically the training miles. If you've got a better shoe, a more expensive shoe you want to hold back for races or PB attempts or time trials or whatever, and you don't want to use that for your kind of all your solid miles to do your training blocks, just purchasing a cheaper, durable, solid training shoe does work. I've had people comment saying that obviously better shoes, you would get better performances, better outcomes from my running, and that probably is true. But I use them almost as a training tool, that if I could do a solid run in a shoe like this, then when you stick on a better shoe, then you automatically get that boost in performance regardless. If you're in a really good training shoe and you're training in that, then I'm using the same one for race day, then you're basically at your maximum. If that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain, but I've tried to use it as, like I say, a training tool. Like basically none of the shoes give me much back, so everything I did was down to me and me alone. I can't say that the shoe helped me perform in that way, if that makes sense. If anything, they've held me back, but I use it as a training tool. If I can get through a solid training run with these on my feet, then there's a benefit to that, because they've helped me generate faster times, or I've had to work even harder than I would have done. Like that running in a weighted vest or something like that. These have not been a training aid. They've been a training aid, not a performance aid, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's definitely a benefit. And actually, these shoes, obviously, I bought them on discount, but they're actually a slightly more expensive shoe. So the New Balance is a £90 shoe, which I ended up getting for 50, and the other two shoes, the Adidas Duramo and the Asics, are both more like £45–50 shoes, which I ended up getting for £33–34. So they're not like £20 shoes where they fall apart after 5 minutes. They've obviously lasted, and again I'll do some close-ups, but the durability, the outsole's starting to wear down now on the Asics and the New Balance in the forefoot. The outsole of the Adidas looks almost brand new still. It's just the upper has failed. All the midsoles feel pretty much as they did when I got them out of the box. So again, they're going to last and last. I'll probably keep these three until I'll actually wear them out properly into next year. I'll still utilise them within my running next year. And so just quick wrap up now. The positives, obviously they're cheaper. So I was able to buy more pairs of shoes. So obviously, like I said, I covered 2,000 kilometres plus generally now per year. So if I went and bought one really good pair of shoes for 150 quid, then that would be most of my budget gone. That shoe would have to do 2,000 kilometres that year, because that's it. I have no more budget for running shoes. So in terms of my situation, I need enough shoes to cover that 2,000 kilometres. Generally, shoes will get to 500 to 800 kilometres. So I need probably 3 at least, maybe 2 if they're really long lasting, but 3 is a safe number for me to get to where I want to get to. So budget shoes, they play a part in my life in terms of I need to, unless I increase my budget, which I haven't got an untapped budget of money to, I haven't got an unlimited amount of money to spend on running shoes, especially when they're perishable and every year you have to replace them. So they serve a purpose. Like I said, they're budget friendly. It enables newer runners, especially if you're just starting to maybe develop a rotation and you have to purchase more running shoes. It enables you to do that. Like I said, I've had no major issues. They've done their job. Yes, they're not performance enhancing. Yes, they're not super shoes of any variety, and they don't really provide any benefit to you as a runner, other than the fact they're on your feet. You can get the miles in, and the rest of it's down to you as a runner, which to me suits me anyway. Also, it's potentially a cheaper way into a new brand. So if you wanted to experiment with a new brand and you don't want to really shell out on a large expensive shoe, on a larger cost shoe that you may or may not get on with or like, and then have to have the worry of trying to resell it, buying a budget shoe of that brand, one, enables you to figure out the sizing, two, it enables you to figure out if you like the brand and the uppers and the midsoles and the outsoles. I know shoes vary within the brands, but it's just a way in, basically a cheaper way, safer way into a new brand. And in terms of the durability, I can't complain. Like I said, for 30 quid, if they'd lasted 200 miles, I'd have been all right with that. But the fact they've lasted double that, and they're probably going to last at least probably closer to 500 miles, and I've only spent, like I say, less than on average £40 per shoe. £40 a shoe and I get 500 miles out of it. No one can really complain. In terms of negatives though, there's obviously negatives. Basically all the negatives, the obvious ones, the firmer foams. There was a breaking in period definitely for the Asics. They don't protect the legs as much, so a softer, higher tech shoe protects the legs and then enables you to get back out the day after or 2 days after, and you can go again. These, obviously, I've got used to it, but I've probably had achy legs. I've had to kind of, not hammer, but I've had to focus on the recovery stuff, foam rolling, stretching. They don't protect the legs like a better quality shoe would do. You get leg soreness maybe the day after, etc. most of the time. But again, that's the trade-off I decided to make when I purchased them for a reduced price. Obviously, because of the firmer foam, they're slightly less comfortable. Like I said, the Adidas for me wasn't particularly comfortable to run in. It wasn't uncomfortable. I could do any distance at any pace, but it's just, you know, that feeling. It's just, you know, it's just a bit of a clumpy, firmer, uncomfortable shoe. The other two, Adidas Duramo, I could run in that all day long. Same with the New Balance. So, although they're slightly uncomfortable, again, if you find the right shoe in the right midsole and the right kind of blend of things, upper midsole and up and outsole, you can still find a good kind of deal and a good price. So just to wrap up there, I think it's been a wholehearted success. I've managed to cover, like I said, nearly 2,000 miles, 1,500 miles, definitely in these three shoes anyway. They've took my half marathon training in the stride. I've ran a half marathon in one of them. I've loved, to be fair, the Duramo 10's been my, obviously I've only run in 5 or 6 shoes this year, but the Duramo 10 has been my shoe of the year for 2023 in terms of the one I prefer to run in the most. And yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I'm definitely going to be looking at buying more budget shoes in the future. I'll drop my 2024 running shoe purchases in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to go through my 2023 review. I'll do a 2024 plan in terms of what I'm going to be doing next year, and then obviously I'll then do a shoe purchase vlog in terms of which ones I've bought in terms of matching those plans and ambitions for 2024. So look out for them. Hope everyone's enjoyed the budget running shoe experiment. Like I said, it was a test, one for me just to see out of curiosity how they got on. There is obviously drawbacks and there's obviously positives, but overall I think it's been a success. They've done everything I needed them to do, and I will be definitely buying budget shoes in the future. But in terms of budget, in terms of buying them at a lower price, so again, you can do that with better quality shoes, just finding the right value and the right price to purchase them on. But basically, if it's a designated running shoe from any of the major brands, I don't think you can ever really go wrong. It's going to do a job for you, especially if you're just a beginner or you're just going out there for some solid miles and you're not particularly trying to chase PBs or race wins or anything major. Any kind of running shoe from any kind of running brand, I think you'll be solid enough and safe enough to go and get that. So good luck with your running shoe purchases. Let me drop in the comments if you've picked up any bargains, but any deals in the recent months, and what you purchased and why. Let me know if you've purchased any of these three shoes on the back of me using them. But yeah, like I said, you go out there, experiment with your purchases, get whatever works for you. Again, I'm not petitioning for everybody to go and get a budget running shoe. Others who like to go and get the best quality shoes for themselves, that's fine. But yeah, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you for watching as always. Happy running, and I'll see everyone on the next one.